Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Learning How to Tank. In this installment, we'll be talking about the Ascendant Council on 10 Man. I'm your host, Auden the Preacher, and I am playing a Blood Death Knight tank in this show. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than my Learning How to Tank Heroic Osric episode. I want to talk about some of the mistakes that I might be making and some things that I would personally like to improve on. So I'm going to start out with the trash here. The trash for the Ascendant Council has a few things of note. The first is there are 4 different types of elementals here: fire, earth, wind, and ice. The fire guys throw down a flame patch like that, and you want to drag the ice guys into the flame patch, and obviously not stand in the flame patch like I do a couple times. You can pull the trash one at a time. They're actually much easier to take down if you do it that way. Well, I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's definitely less stressful if you're not comfortable with taking them and working with the different offsetting abilities. So the ice guy will put a debuff on everybody that hits, which will reduce fire damage. So that's going to help mitigate the fire guy's AoE and his attacks. They all have a shield, so the ice guy has a shield that can be broken by the flame patches, which makes him much easier to take down, and you can interrupt his whirlwind, or his frost whirl, whatever it is. So the fire guy puts down the flame patch, drag the ice guy through it, and the ice guy puts a debuff on everybody, or technically a buff that reduces fire damage. So here we have the wind guy. The wind guy puts a debuff on you that does stacking damage, but that is reduced by getting hit by the earth guy. So ideally what you would want to do is you want to pull a wind guy, then you want to pull an earth guy, and then a wind guy and an earth guy. Because the earth guy does the same thing, but in reverse. He puts a debuff on you that stacks, but it is reduced. Each stack is taken off when he attacks you with his earth attack. The earth guy also does a shockwave, so you want to face him away from the raid. So that's pretty much the trash. I mean, and as you can see, we're mostly doing single pulls here. It doesn't really take that long. I did speed up the video to double speed, but it's really not that long to do it single pulls. But if you can do it with more than one pull, like for instance, one tank pulls a wind guy, one tank pulls an earth guy, they let the debuff stack up to 3 or 4, and then they swap them. That works pretty well, or they just pull in reverse, pull in opposite orders. That seems to work pretty well. That's what we've been trying to do. We definitely want to get to the point where we're doing multiple mobs in here, because it's certainly possible, especially if you use those debuffs to your benefit. But they're not, it's really not that hard to do in single pull. So one thing that I've really tried to work on, and I use this video as an example of it, is cooldown usage. The later fights in all of the dungeons really require intelligent cooldown usage. In here, sometimes your healers can overcome maybe just improper cooldown usage a little bit, but it really helps. And so I've noticed that since watching this video compilation the first time through by myself, I recognize a lot of points where I should be using cooldowns. On the trash, obviously, maybe cooldowns are not as critical, but still important to use. But on the boss fights, this is a really good example of a boss fight where cooldown usage can be really helpful. So one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're using your cooldowns is what are the boss's abilities and what are the other abilities that they can do. So like for instance, that flame jet that he does, that's a frontal AoE, so I want to face him away from the raid, but I want to try to use either my anti-magic shell or a bone shield for that, because those are going to help me the most. I can use Icebound Fortitude for it, but that's a more powerful cooldown for other situations that it might be better not to use it right away for something like that. So you'll see that this is several different wipes. In that first attempt, we did not understand about the Aegis of Flame. Well, I think we kind of knew about it, but we didn't really do the transition right. And so here we've talked to everybody, said, okay, we've got a transition. We're not doing the debuffs properly at this point. We just want to get comfortable with the fight, and we believe that our DPS is high enough without using the debuff synergy that we can just dispel the debuffs and deal with it. So here you'll see that we're transitioning to the Aegis of Flame so we can interrupt, and we're doing a little bit better. I could be much better on my cooldowns and really pick up some of the slack for my healers. Another thing that I really have tried to work on since watching this video and since doing this fight a couple times is getting into a better position after this guy does his teleport, because he's going to run back over to me, and if I move to a better position, then I don't have to keep trying to like face him towards the raid and deal with him being in this weird angle of backing me into a corner. And that's something that I think the fight is designed to do, is to make the tank feel like they have to back into a corner. So you really got to force yourself to, when he teleports away, move out, catch him, and then move him into a position that you're comfortable with. So here we go. This is our first attempt on phase 2. I did not understand how this worked at all. So as you'll see there, I just got hit by that dispersed lightning bolt really bad. I've learned since that when he does disperse, I need to pop a cooldown immediately so that I can mitigate the majority of that magic damage, because it's just magic damage, and it's the perfect sort of a thing where you'd want to use a bone shield or an anti-magic shell or a mirror if you have the mirror. I didn't have the mirror when we were doing these attempts. I do have the mirror now, so it's definitely something that you want to be using. It's also something you could use your Icebound Fortitude for, but you know, again, if you feel there's enough time, you really want to make sure that your Icebound Fortitude is up for phase 3, so you don't want to use it too soon. So we're definitely working with the order of the big damage attacks, getting the tornado buff and the grounded buff. Depending on what's coming up, it's always the same order. It's always going to be get the tornado buff first, then get the grounded buff for a second, and swap and swap and swap. The big thing about these guys is that you want to have as even of DPS as possible on all of them. So here we go into phase 3. We actually didn't have a lot of trouble with phase 2, other than that one first wipe. And so here we go with phase 3. Phase 3 is definitely a DPS race. This guy is kind of hard to tank, honestly. I mean, because he keeps doing this gravity crush ability, you keep wanting to back him up. You know you need to back him up to get him out of the pools, and so you want to back him up, but then when he does the gravity crush, he's no longer moving. So what you want to do is you try to want to prioritize, okay, when he's not doing the gravity crush, move him. And when he does do the gravity crush, get in there, get some of your high threat abilities off, your runic strike, get some blood heart strikes off, get some death strikes off, and make sure that you use your cooldowns well during this phase as well. As you can see, I've got all my cooldowns used there. So you really want to make sure that you're using those though for the right things. Like for instance, when he does the lava seeds, that's a good time to use your bone shield or your mirror even, or your anti-magic shell or Icebound Fortitude. In general, you want to use your, if you have the vial, use vial and vampiric blood together. That works pretty well. Also make sure that you're using your dancing room weapon, because that's going to give you extra parry. So make sure that you're using all of your cooldowns and trying to get them up as other ones are falling off, because it's a really tough fight, or it's a really tough phase for your healers, and it's honestly kind of tough for you too, because you're backing around in this big circle, and so it's going to be really kind of at the edge of what your DPS are going to be able to do and your healers are going to be able to do in the beginning. So the more that you can control the amount of damage coming on you and making sure that you're keeping enough threat so he's not turning on anybody, and keeping him in a controlled circle, those three things are really going to help your raid dish out the maximum amount of DPS and get the maximum amount of heal per second. I think after watching this, I understood a lot better about the mistakes that I was making, and I was actually able to inadvertently get the achievement. So I'll show that in another video when I put it up. So that was kind of exciting. We didn't even realize we were going to get it, and we saw the achievement pop up. So this is the final good to go encounter, I believe. So let's just watch him. I use my cooldowns well. Even still, I don't really like to use a cooldown for that first flame jet. It just doesn't seem to do enough damage to really warrant the cooldown on the very first one. But I use my anti-magic shell. My bone shield is on cooldown, so I'm definitely using some of my cooldowns here. Am I repositioning the boss well after he teleports? Let's watch this next one, see how I do. Could have been using an anti-magic shell. Not really that well. It could have been better. Didn't use any cooldowns for that one, so I probably should have used a cooldown there. So we got the Aegis off pretty quick. So I used both cooldowns, my bone shield and my anti-magic shell. That was probably a waste. I probably could have timed those out a little bit better. But we still made it to phase 2. I think overall our raid's doing pretty well. We all get our buff or debuff, as the case may be, so that we're ready for the Thunder Strike. That'll be coming up here pretty soon. There it goes. Or no, that was the Quake. And Thunder Strike will be coming up soon, so we need to get grounded for that. And so I'm grounded, and I used my cooldown there, my anti-magic shield for that lightning bolt. That's good. Very good. So am I keeping my diseases up? My diseases need to go back up here pretty soon. I need to get another cooldown up. Oh no, I did not get a cooldown up for that one. I really need to make sure that gets up. So the Quake is going off, and I've got my, there we go. I have my air debuff, so I use the anti-magic shield for that one. So now I'm full life. I'm near the middle. Perfect. This is actually a really good position. That's something I didn't talk about in the other portion on phase 3, but if you can be near the middle when phase 3 is going to start, then you're in a much better position to get quick aggro on him and make sure that nothing bad happens to anybody in your raid, because you do not want somebody getting taken down quick. So I'm trying to get close to him for the gravity crush and then get him out of those pools as quickly as I can. Anti-magic shield for the lava seed, and I'm getting my death shield going, my death strikes going. There you go, moving far away for the gravity crush. Probably could have done that a little bit better. Got my dodge up, and there we go, it's done. We got him down. That was a kind of an abrupt ending, but anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope that you guys learned as much as I did. Alright, well, I'll see you next time.